This is your girl Yannick Taylor, aka Priestess, hostess of Conversations with the Priestess. Here's a preview of what you may hear on Conversations with the Priestess.
We weren't meant for monogamy, let's be honest. Like, we have needs, let's be real. And communicating that, what you want, what you don't want, what sets up. Now, this drink is brown because I learned something. Since I'm older, I can't do brown liquor anymore. Also, I noticed since I started on hormone replacement therapy, HRT, in 2015, me and certain liquors don't match well. I don't know whether...
And I recognize that a lot of men love to be dominated by women. And that's because men are seen as these leaders, as this big alpha male dominant being. And because they're put on this pedestal of being leaders, sometimes they want to be submissive. Back when I cosplayed a Butch Queen in South Carolina around 2011, I was on Craigslist. This is when Craigslist was bumping and before they had gotten rid of the personal section. I hope you enjoyed that preview. Join me on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. for Priestess After Dark. Full video versions of the podcast can be found on patreon.com/CWT Priestess, and join me on Fridays at noon for our regular Friday post. Live, love, and be free. Smooches.
Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere you download and stream podcasts.
Hi, I'm Michael Schwartz, naturopath, founder, formulator of Michael's Health. If there's anything I've learned in my years of practice, it's that food can either build you up or break you down. The stresses of life complicate matters even more. I've created targeted supplements based on what you yourself may have concerns about. The body heals itself once you give it what it requires. Improve your journey towards greater health. Join us at michaelshealth.com.
What's up, my royal priesthood? It's your girl, Priestess. I hope all is well since the last time we had a conversation. Things are great. Now, I've been puffing on some good stuff, and I'm relaxing myself. But this week's episode is brought to you by Mince Runs. I absolutely love it. Oh, yeah. Absolutely love it. And I'm just blazing with the stars on high. I'm in the universe. Oh, yes. Y'all get that one for free. But I'm just living happy and free. Oh, this week has been interesting, but this week has been great. At the time of this recording, your girl has, dealt with insomnia. And insomnia be a diva. But in that insomnia, I've been able to create and actually get things done, like work on some stuff. But also, with the impending ban on TikTok, it's been a lot of restructuring. So now you can all follow me on Blue Sky. I'm on Lemon8. I am on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Bigo. So if you have any of those apps, y'all can find me there. Everywhere where you can find me will be down in the show notes, and they will be where you can find them. So y'all know where to look for my stuff. And don't forget, I have bonus content because I have some bloopers and a pre-show conversation that has inspired this episode. And I'm grateful for that. Okay. Grateful for that. So go on over to patreon.com/CWT Priestess. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and follow. So let's jump into it. So I know everyone has heard about the unaliving of the United Healthcare CEO. I'm not going to call names, and how, the perpetrator of said action had went on the run, had left New York or wherever he was. And what happened, the CEO was headed to a meeting, and boom, he got in broad daylight. And from what I've been hearing in the reports, his body was stepped over so they could attend the meeting. But come to find out, this man had been using AI to deny life-saving claims for people. And the perpetrator of his untimely demise is being held as a hero. And while it is said that the man lost his life, he was a billionaire CEO that caused harm to people. And I saw the perpetrator of crime. That was a handsome man. But to the person, who turned over details, sir, was it really worth it in the end? Was it really worth it? Was it really worth it? And I'm not going to say my inner workings of my mind, but this week has been a very, very interesting week. I that's just one of the many things that have happened. And other things I'm not going to discuss because I really don't discuss pop culture here. I really don't discuss it at all. But that was the highlight of the week. But also, I want to give a shout out to those who went on the Capitol here in Washington, D.C., went to where they needed to go and invaded federal bathrooms to take a stand against those bathroom bills that old girl Nancy Mace wanted to pass just because they hate trans people that much. And before I get into my topic of the week, I'm going to have some funny stories for y'all in just a second. I want people to understand that trans people do not owe it to you. We do not owe anything to you. We do not owe it to you to tell you that we're trans. We do not owe it to you to fit in your specific standard of how you feel like a man or a woman is supposed to look. That is an unrealistic standard that was created, and no one really fits that mold. Only a select few. Also, when it comes down to disclosing, trans people know when to disclose. We disclose when we know it's safe. So if you're not screwing us or financing us, that's none of your business. And I just want to get that off my chest because I'm exhausted with a lot of the transgender discourse, a lot of the transgender things that are just coming across. But I know I'm going to have to deal with this all of my life for the rest of my life, honey. But it's been exhausting being on the social webs, especially since November the 5th and 6th and all of that. It's been a challenging time, and that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to really create content. But in the midst of creating content, being able to see one of my favorite gospel singers did so much for me. It really helped my spirit, and it really blessed my spirit. It really did. And it gave me some reprieve from everything that is transpiring in the world around us. In an uncertain future, I'm just manifesting that something is going to work out for the good. Okay, like for real. And I just want to say that because I've been seeing a lot of discourse when it comes down to trans bodies, particularly when it comes to my trans masculine individuals, my trans brethren, and them having children, and my non-binary folks as well having children. And I'm like, number one, why are cis people so worried about trans people's business? Cis folks, why are y'all worried about trans folks' business? I saw several questions about why people wanted to transition to one gender and still have kids, or why trans men decided to transition and still decided to have kids because they want to. Trans people do the things that they do because they want to. Why do you go and have several children? Why do you go and create unhappy homes? Why do you cheat on your spouse? Like, come on. We're all human here. Why are you worried about what the next person do? And I want people to understand that what trans people do, what we eat don't make you poop. Okay? What we do don't affect you at all. Us using a bathroom does not cause harm. You all are harming us when you all invade our spaces, invade our lives. We're just trying to live. So what we do, what we have going on, has no effect on you. So all I'm asking is, please Respect us. Stop oppressing us. Leave us alone. I'm going to get off my soapbox. Because it angers me when people, and I realize something, these people do these statuses for rage bait because that's the only way that they can get engagement. That's the only way that they can get engagement. And what I do, when I see rage bait posts, I'm starting not to engage. And I'll give a good not interested, or I don't want to see this anymore. And if it's to a point to where it needs to be reported, I'm just gonna report it. Do what it's gonna do, like, for real. Because right now I make sure that I curate my spaces to where my mental health and my mental well-being is okay. Okay. But other than those shenanigans, child, this is the time of year where people get oddly disrespectful. It's already a retrograde. People get real disrespectful, especially to those of us in customer service. But here's an adventure. Here's an adventure in customer service for you. So I come in contact with different people, different types of people in customer service. When you work in customer service, you deal with all kind of strange stuff, right? So way back when in customer service, I had a lady call in and she wanted to know, get information about her account and why it was delinquent. And I'm like, okay, ma'am, I can help you. So first, of course, when you're working in customer service and you're dealing in a call center, you have to ask, hi, what's your first and last name? She was like, I don't want to give you my name. I was like, okay, but ma'am, in order for me to look up your account, I would need your name and to verify who I'm talking with. And this happens a lot. So she was like, well, fine. She gives me her name. I was like, okay, fine, Mrs. Devereaux, you're good. So I'm calling her Miss Devereaux for a reason, because she was given like Southern Belle teas that's entitled. Not saying that the Devereaux we know was entitled, but look, just go with it. So Miss Devereaux is like, okay, what else you need? I was like, if you can give me your account number, that way we can make sure we're looking at all your details. Boom, wada wada. She was like, why do you need all of this information? Why isn't it already pulled up? So I had to explain to her, ma'am, when you call in, your information doesn't automatically pull up. You have to give us that information because we need to verify that you are indeed the account holder. And she was like, that's unnecessary. And she goes on a tirade. And she finally gives me the account number. But I still needed to verify a couple of other pieces of information. So I was like, well, ma'am, I need to verify a couple of pieces of information just to make sure we have everything correct. And she was like, I just gave you my name and my account number. Why do you need all this information? And she's going on a tirade. So while she's going on this tirade, I've muted myself. I'm taking a sip of my coffee, take a little bite of my snack that I had. I always keep snacks. And she's going on this tirade. And while she's ending the tirade, I'm getting ready to come off of mute. And she immediately says, hello, are you listening to me? So I took a deep breath and I exhaled. I unmuted myself. I said, yes, ma'am, I'm here. I did not want to interrupt you while you were talking because it would be disrespectful for me to cut you off. And she then says, well, I need you to effing listen. I said, okay, ma'am, I'm apt to listening to you. But before we proceed, I'm going to need you to stop using profanity. And we're going to speak to each other in a calm, professional manner. And she starts using this sarcastic professional tone, like, okay, so can you help me with my loan? I'm not going to verify. I said, well, ma'am, if you can't verify, what we're going to do with your account, I'm going to have you give us a call back when you're ready to provide the information. And she then asks for a manager. So in her asking for a manager, I had to send a message to my manager, and my manager like, what's going on? I'm telling my manager what's going on. My manager's like, okay, you can go ahead and send her over, but give me a moment. So I go back and I was like, okay, ma'am, I have a manager ready. They're going to assist you further. She was like, what's their name? I'm like, I gave them my manager's name as per protocol. And the lady starts asking other questions that were irrelevant. I'm like, well, ma'am, once I get you over to my manager, they'll be able to assist you. But she was like, no, I want you to answer it. And I'm like, ma'am, you just asked for a manager for your account. I'm not going to continue to go back and forth with you. You asked for a manager, so I'm giving you your request because you did not want to verify. And she cusses me out and hangs up the phone. I then let my manager know, hey, look, you don't have to speak to this person anymore. They just cussed me out and told me where to go and how fast to get there. And I had to take a break. Because I'm like, here I am. I'm just trying to help people. And you're being fucking disrespectful because you don't want to provide us with the necessary information. And it may seem excessive, but it's to protect your information, protect your details. That's how it goes. I don't understand why people do that. It just makes you wonder sometimes. It really makes you wonder. And this is what I go through in customer service. Now, I've had some fun times in customer service. You can best believe that. I will never forget one day when I worked in drive-thru at a Bojangles. It was like midday. It was a high school that was right in front of the Bojangles that I worked at. And it was like that midday where a lot of the lower grade schools, like the early childhood schools, they would let out a little bit earlier. And the parents would come and get their kids, bring them through the line. And so one day this lady comes through the line, and we hear her kids, like, as soon as she pulls up to the drive-thru, you hear them like, yeah, I want my chicken nuggets, I want my chicken nuggets. And she's like, like trying to get them to calm down. And apparently her son is kicking her seat while all of this is going on. And she's like, y'all calm down. I got to make the order. So they calm down just enough for her to make the order. Okay, bet. So we hear her son and another child talking, but we hear this blunt. And while she's trying to talk, she's like, yes, I would like a 2-piece dinner combo, and I would like to add a side of coleslaw with it, whatever she was getting. And she said, hold on one second. She turns around and she says, Tyler, didn't I tell you to stop kicking my seat? And you can tell she spanked this child. Now, I'm not for putting your hands on a child, but she spanked this child, and she did the typical mother thing. Now, mind you, she was palm colored. She wore him out, and she was like, didn't I tell you to sit down? Turn it around. And he starts crying, of course. And she was like, go ahead and cry. Get it out now. But when you get home, I'm talking to your father. I was like, oh, she gave him the business. And while all of this is going on, everybody on headset is hearing this. And she was so loud, you can hear it a little bit in the restaurant. And everybody on headset is laughing. You could hear the roar of laughter from kitchen staff that had headsets on. And I had to get my other coworker that was helping me in drive-thru. He had to have to do the window part for me, because I said, let me pack the order because I can't stop laughing. Y'all, I had laughed till I cried that day. And the lady pulled up to her window and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I managed to keep it together. But I looked up to go pack the order. Here comes my then district manager coming down the walkway. He was palm colored. His face is the color of roses. His face was red as fuck. His face was so red. He comes walking down. He is like laughing and crying. He goes, locks himself in the office because everybody is still laughing. And now we're laughing at him. So now I'm packing the order. And the lady gets to the window. I'm calm. I'm like calm. And I'm still smiling, providing grade A customer service. I was like, here you go, ma'am. You have a great day. And Her son wouldn't even look at none of the staff because he was embarrassed. And his little brother said, "Bye, y'all have a great day." And he just turned his head and said, "Bye." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry your mama whooped you." But I'm like, "Son, your mama told you to stop kicking her seat." That's son. And what was so bad about it, I ended up ending my shift. And me and some other people that had walked outside, we looked at each other. I said, "Yep, it's time to go." I said, because she had to whip that boy like that. And we all busted out laughing in the parking lot. And it was just so funny. It was so funny. The next day, me and some of that crew had to work together to open up. And that mom came through for the morning crew. And everybody was like, "Hey, how you doing?" We was being extra nice that day because I'm like, "Lord, we don't want her to go off on her kids again." We had no more problems out of her after that. But hey, look, these are some of the things that you happen when you work in customer service now. But look, I'm gonna take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about me and how I feel about being clocked. So we're gonna take a quick break. I had to make y'all laugh a little bit before I got into my topic. So here we go. Let's hit it. It's time for a Talk to Priestess moment.
Sephora's biggest sale of the year is on. Get 20% off the best gifts, including makeup from brands like Rare Beauty.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
20% off skincare from brands like Glow Recipe and Summer Fridays.
These are my fave.
20% off hair care like Way and K18.
I'm obsessed.
And 20% off fragrances like Valentino, Donna, Born, and Roma.
So good.
20% off your purchase, now through December 15th. Shop now at Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
This goes out to my Black, trans, and non-binary creatives. I know the world is in chaos around us. And things are thinking. But I want to encourage you to keep creating. Keep working your craft. Keep working your gift. Now is the time to continue creating. Set intentions behind it. Your art may liberate somebody. Your art may cause change. Your art may heal. Your art tells a story. You are the story. Keep creating. Take your rest when needed. Revisit plans, but don't give up on creating. Keep doing what you need to do. Now let's jump back into the show. Smooches. And we're back. Earlier in the episode, I had mentioned that trans people don't owe it to you to pass. Now, passing is not the goal for everybody who transitions. And passing is such a societal standard thing. And I don't do the whole passability politics. I used to worry about passing, and I'm not going to lie. Me getting facial femme, and in preparation for facial femme, a goal was to pass. But I understood that I may or may not pass once I had my gender affirming surgeries. And I had to prepare for that. And since it's been a year and some change since I've had facial femme, I have seen so much change, but also there are times where I do get clogged. There are some times too where if I am clogged, I'm not misgendered. I'm still respected. And sometimes I'm still misgendered. It happens, now because now in working in call center, there are times to where, people will call me sir. Sometimes people call me ma'am because I am a woman with a deep voice. Some women have deep voices, like for real. Even now, I have aunts that have deep voices for women, and there are some badass altos and some great sopranos. Okay, it's just it doesn't fit the specific binary structure, and nobody really ever fits that. But I always make sure that when I do put myself together, that I look good for me, and I look like Yanique. I look like Priestess. I look like the woman that I know I am. And I always check my looks. I do my damnedest to check my looks. And I've made sure that when I do put on my makeup, that I do pick my hairstyle, that I'm comfortable and that I look good to me. And this boosts my confidence because it's all about confidence. But I also recognize what I have to deal with when I walk outside of my house from the outside world, being trans. And this is one of my worries when I went to the album release concert for Dorinda Clark Cole. I was voicing this to my partner and my best friend, and I'm like, y'all, number one, the last time I stepped foot in the church, it was not a pleasant experience at all. The last time I served in church as a trans woman, it was not pleasant at all. That the things that I was doing was snatched under the rug for me in such a nasty manner. But I was concerned because, like, number one, this is my first time going to a church in 2 years. Like, girl, the world is already transphobic AF. We see what people are doing to us. And it's like, I just want to go have a good time. And I'm like, and I already knew, girl, just go. It's not going to be a whole big to-do. They don't want to get embarrassed, of course, because people have social media. And plus, this is a big gospel artist, Girl, go ahead and do what you're going to do. And my best friend and my partner was like, girl, go. Girl, you're real. Like, you passed real good. Like, you have nothing to worry about. Like, it's not even that. I don't care about passing. I just want to be sure that I'm safe regardless. Like, I'm going to have to use the bathroom. Like, I don't feel like getting harassed. Like, let me embrace my womanhood. Yes, I ride that womanhood differently, but let me be. And so I made up my mind. I said, I'm going to go. And of course, my partner and bestie were glad that I went. I'm glad that I went. But I did go. And I put my outfit together. But in the process of getting my outfit together, I got a little self-conscious because I wanted to wear one dress. But it would require me to wear a slip. And the slip that I needed, I didn't have, and I couldn't find it. I got frustrated. Then I tried on another dress. I didn't like how it looked because I felt like too many lines was showing and stuff. And it just didn't fit right in. And ladies, you know what I'm talking about, lines. You want everything to be smooth. You don't want no panty lines. You don't want no lines from whatever the slip or underpart you're wearing. And I didn't want to wear this other dress because I felt like that was going to be a little too dressy for an album release concert. So I wore this black dress that I had worn, that I had worn to another event. I said, you know what? Ain't nobody at this event see me in there. But I accessorized differently. And I wore my nice little burgundy beret, my little raspberry beret, I wore that up in there. And I wore my pink trench coat because it was colder than a witch's breast in a brass bra outside that night. So ended up going, and I walked in, I had got my ticket ready. I walked into the church. Everybody was just so warm and friendly to me. I said, oh, good. Now, if I had been clocked, didn't nobody say nothing. They were just as nice. And at some point, I had to go to the restroom before the show started. I said, okay, bet. So I ended up, going to the restroom initially to check my makeup, and make sure I was good. And it was the most beautiful bathroom, but I'm so glad that it was like each stall had a private door Girl, do you not know that is a woman's best friend? That is a woman's best friend, okay? I love privacy in the bathroom, okay? And sidebar, if we're supposed to be using the bathroom and stuff, and we're supposed to have that much privacy in the bathroom, why is y'all worried about other folks' business if it's supposed to be private? And trans folks being used in the bathroom alongside y'all. Y'all didn't start saying that until around, 2018, 2015, 2018 with these bathroom bills. Girl, stop it. Stop it. We see the motive. But anyway, later on, during intermission, I ended up having to really go to the bathroom now that I had kind of scoped out what type of bathroom I was going to have to deal with. Did they have the right things in there? Was it good to go? Was they good in stock? But was it a safe place for me? And I ended up not having any issues. And I was like, oh, this bathroom. And the bathroom was nice and warm too. Pretty bathroom. But I'm like, let me check my makeup. Let me make sure I'm good. And me and another lady was in there. She was like, girl, she said, this show good. And I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying myself. She was like, and this is a pretty bathroom. I said, it sure is. And we kikied and laughed and walked on out the bathroom. And I'm like, that's what happens in the bathroom. We go pee, we come out. And really, seeing this witch hunt with trans people in bathrooms, I'm like, this is so unnecessary. Like, the biggest created an unnecessary witch hunt because they had nothing else better to do. Like, find y'all some business. Leave trans folks alone. But then I went back to minding my business and went back to the show and thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, it was a great experience for me. And especially it was great for me being back in a church setting, although I am agnostic / atheist AF, like, I'm gonna say I'm a spiritual atheist. I'm spiritually atheist as fuck, but it felt good to be back home in a sense, like back to my roots. Like, I still have a little bit of church in me. I still listen to gospel music, but it felt good to like be able to exist without worrying about eyes on you, without worrying about being singled out. I have been in churches. I will never forget the last church I really went to with my former pastor, with Pastor Mo Edward. He took me to this church in Baltimore because he was trying to canoodle up to a new bishop because he was looking for validation through his title. We were sitting in church and this man of God comes up to me and starts ministering to me and saying, God loves you as you are. And I really took that as, you see that I'm trans and you feel like I've made a mistake. You don't have to worry about me coming back here ever again. And after that, I never went back to church with that person. This is the thing that I had to deal with walking into the church. And I often wonder, is the church really ready to accept the LGBT community? We already have gay inclusive ministries. Yes, we have some churches where trans women are in the lead, trans women are serving. But from my experience, I know it's a lot of misogyny and transphobia that is being thrown just by being and existing. We get it from our people in the LGBT community. But I really wonder, is the mainstream church really ready to address gender and break this conversation? I have seen people make dumb shit about gender and non-binary and acting like it's against God, when if you do your research, honey, non-binary people always existed. It reminds me of a sermon that the late Bishop G.E. Patterson preached about salvation being an inside job, and he briefly touched on the idea of gender. He said it really had nothing to do with them about wearing the clothes, but it was talking about their actual role in society. Because, a lot of the Bible is set against historical timelines of the Roman Empire as well. So, about the Roman Empire, they let gay and trans queer people exist, but it was structured in a way to where if you portrayed a certain gender, you had to portray a certain role. And if you went against their role, it was a little bit of knucking and bucking, but people existed, we've always existed in other cultures. And I just wonder when the mainstream church is going to really be welcoming and non-judgmental towards trans people and actually listening to us for a change. Like I wonder when that is going to happen. And now more than ever, we're even more visible because, hey, we're fighting for our rights out here. We're fighting for our lives. And I really feel like once the church really changes how it views women as a whole, that's when we'll actually break down the politics of gender, when we stop looking at the patriarchal view. And I find it funny that the church is so misogynistic towards women when it's the church mothers and the femmes and the women who are keeping the church open, who are funding the church, who are going to all these conferences. And some of them their husbands, but also they're picking on vulnerable people that are in need of resources. And instead of giving them resources, they're handing them Jesus. They're attaching Jesus to resources. Everybody don't need Jesus. They just need resources. Like, and for real, if I was to start a church, which I'm not doing that, but if I was to start a spiritual center, I would welcome all people. And baby, if you want to serve on a board or something, hey, I'm all for that. But we're going to make sure that you have the right teaching, that you've taken the right classes, that you learn how to lead effectively without causing harm. Because and one thing that I've seen, a lot of people will welcome the LGBT community in, but they will use that as a catalyst to get us in, but then do underhanded stuff to exploit us, or then try to still play mind games with us. It's happened. We've seen it. We've heard the stories. But also, I want my spiritual leaders that are considering welcoming trans people. You can welcome trans people, but don't try to sleep with them. Don't jump in their DMs. Don't ask unnecessary questions. Treat them like you would any other parishioner. It's not that hard. Like, treating trans people like human beings is not that hard at all. It's really not. And it's really not that hard to understand the breakdown of gender and listen. It's really not that hard. One has to be open to that knowledge. One has to be ready and willing to open up their mind. And the church world struggles with that. I feel like if people are just at least doing the work, that opens the door to so much other things to happen. But you have to be ready and willing. Like, but I'm concerned about once trans people are really welcomed in church, in the mainstream church, is it just going to be an era of pandering for the almighty dollar and for image, or is it going to be an actual sincere work? We've seen some people apologize to the LGBT community. We've seen leaders advocate for the LGBT community. The late Dr. Carlton Pearson advocated for the LGBT community, advocated for the trans community. I got to give it up for the forerunners that's doing the work in community. But when it comes down to the mainstream cis hetero church that trans people are a part of, are they really ready to do the work? And are they really ready to handle sexuality? Because the church is going to have to reconcile their discontent with human sexuality as well in order for us to proceed forward. Now, that's going to be something else that I'm ready to see a lot of the mainstream church deconstruct. Like, that is going to be interesting. For me, the church has been beyond ready and could have already done it. It just has to be a willingness. And this is where the church is no longer a pillar of community. It stopped being about civil rights, especially when it came down to the LGBT community. If the mainstream church was more accepting of trans and queer people without all the hookah messiah and the rigmarole and the legalistic bullshit, which we know Jesus was against, It would be that pillar of community, and Christianity wouldn't be looked at as the shit show that it is now. I'm just being brutally honest. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but it's okay. You're going to live again. In the experience that I've had, just being at this concert, would I enter into the church world again? No, but I would go visit a church if I know that the atmosphere is right, you know. But as far as attending, no. It will be something that I do for the nostalgia or just to visit every now and then, you know, like some people do, you know, go on holidays. That's what I do, go on Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter, which is nothing wrong with that. And that's another thing about the church when they make little quips about people who don't go to church. Have you ever sat and asked them why they don't go to church without judging them and without throwing scripture at them? The church needs to come out of the Bible so much as using it as a guide for living, but use it as to what not to do in a society. That's really what the Bible is showing you, what and what not to do as a society. And once you dig into the history of the things that's been taken out and edited, you might start to question your own religion as well. The world is ready for change. We're seeing it happen. Whether people like it or not, change is going to come. Trans people are here and we exist. And some trans people love Jesus. Some trans people love God. Some trans people are spiritual. Some trans people are atheists. But regardless, we are human and we exist. And we love gospel music too. We just want the church and things to be a safe space for us. If you made it this far in the podcast episode, leave a review or live tweet me with the hashtag #2priestess. That's Talk2Priestess. Hashtag me on Blue Sky. I'm still on X, formerly known as Twitter for the time being. Or you can just hit me up on social media. Or if you're watching the video on YouTube, comment there as well. So live, love, and be free. Smooches!